You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
This is the last podcast of the show before the show before a week that brings us actual baseball games. Welcome, everybody. How exciting is that? I'm Tyler Mon in New York City is Sam Dykstra. Howdy, Sam.
Hello, Tyler.
That's fun.
That is very fun.
We're recording on Tuesday, February 23rd. Games get started a week from tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, so we've reported on time.
Which we're here.
On time is now early in spring training.
Yep.
So we've reported on time.
I think on time is late. I think early is now on time and on time is late.
Yeah. Did you hear about that story of the Rays? Blake Snell and Jacob Faria got in trouble for showing up not early enough and got chewed out a little bit by Chris Archer. So the next day they both showed up at 7 o'clock in the morning just to be safe. So hopefully everybody else has learned their lesson.
Might as well just move into the clubhouse.
Yeah, you might as well just sleep in your locker.
Don't ever leave, ever. Lockers are big enough in a lot of cases anyway. You can just make a little apartment out of it.
Yeah, there you go. So spring training is a learning experience for everybody, and well, it is for us as well.
So with that, we welcome you into episode number 47 of the Show Before the Show podcast. We got a good one coming up for you today. First, though, head on over to iTunes. Give us a rating, a review, a subscription there. You can leave us your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. Search for the Minor League Baseball podcast on iTunes and rate and review over there. You can also find us at milb.com/podcast. We have our RSS link there if you're accessing from a device that needs such a feed. And you can leave us your questions and thoughts and comments and all that on each episode, which we archive there as well. So as we get into it, real baseball is very nearly here. Minor leaguers report in large part next week. Everybody will be there. For the guys who aren't already there, I actually had a conversation earlier today with Dave Tremblay, who is the director of player development in the Atlanta Braves system. They already have a minor league mini camp going on, so there's already some work going on for prospects. But everybody is into the pool as of next week, so we're finally there. We are finally there.
Finally, and you couldn't have said that at a better time. After a nice weekend of weather here in New York. It is cold. It is rainy. It is not sunshiny and dry and warm like it is in Arizona and Florida. So
it's sunshiny here in Denver, but it snowed yesterday. So I walked outside and was just furious. But and maybe this is a good time to announce, I'll be heading down to Phoenix in about 2 weeks. You will be heading to Orlando. Is that where you're flying into?
I'm flying into Tampa.
Tampa. Okay.
I will be in Tampa, so I'll be close. I'll be a 15-minute drive from the Yankees spring training facility.
Okay.
And fairly close to the Phillies as well over there in Clearwater.
So we'll get to compare and contrast our spring training experiences from on the ground in spring training. Not only are we going to be there, Josh Jackson will also be covering some Cactus League stuff. So Josh and I will meet up. He'll join the podcast coming up in a couple of weeks as well. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up for the Show Before the Show. As for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, Kansas City Royals prospect Kyle Zimmer will join us coming up here in just a little bit. 40-man roster. Remember, he is at camp right now in Surprise, Arizona. Off topic, made some renovations to that ballpark this year, did the Rangers and the Royals. So I'm excited to get a chance to see what that looks like. But he's at the facility, getting ready to go for 2016. So we'll talk with Kyle Zimmer. We'll talk with Benjamin Hill as well. A big update coming on the Fresno Tacos. If you were a huge Fresno Tacos fan last year, then stay tuned because we have some cool news about them coming up. And let's get into it. 3 strikes for episode number 47 is where we begin. Sam, question number 1 for this week's edition of the show. Heading into spring training, top prospects reporting across the land in Arizona and Florida. We often get into it, have an exciting couple of weeks to see what guys can do, and then all of a sudden they kind of start dropping off like flies. The first guys get sent back to minor league camp the first week or so and get strung out for some guys throughout the end of March. But generally, the guys who we're most excited about usually end up starting the season in the minor leagues. However, every year there's a handful of guys who end up kicking off their season in the big leagues. This year, spring training 2016, which prospect will surprise people by making his team's big league roster out of camp?
Yeah, when I sent this to you as an idea for a discussion topic, I really had one person in mind, and it's not anybody that's necessarily a top 100 prospect. I've seen him pop up on lists every now and again, just because his numbers in 2015 were so exciting. I'm going to say Tyler White of the Houston Astros, just to kind of go off the board a little bit. The Astros have a fairly big hole, not a hole, but it's going to be a competition at first base. AJ Reed is the, I'll say the sexy prospect. I'm sure he'll like being called the sexy prospect. The sexy prospect to fill that hole at some point. After the big 2015 he had, but there's also Jonathan Singleton, a former top prospect in the system who's kind of flamed out at the game's highest level. Matt Duffy, who got some experience in the majors last year, is also a consideration there. But I think Tyler White, he's a non-roster invitee, so he's going to have a big spring training, a big grapefruit league over there with the Astros team. But what he presents at first base is a really, really interesting profile, at least as where I'm coming from. Last year, he hit .325 with a .442 on base percentage between AA and AAA in the Astros system. Had 14 homers, 1 triple, 25 doubles, 99 RBIs. And here's the really, really interesting part for me. He struck out 73 times, but he walked 84. So he has a really good command of the strike zone. Is certainly patient, is willing to take his walks, is obviously willing to reach base, as many times as he can in whatever capacity he can. He's a little bit on the older side for a prospect. He turned 25 in October. Again, he's not on the 40-man yet. He was taken in the 33rd round back in 2013. So this would be a really interesting story. But he's not as I said, he's not a top 100 guy. So I don't think they would have that game of, we need to wait this guy out for contract purposes. If he has a good enough spring, if he shows that eye again, maybe shows a little bit more power than just the 14 homers, it would not surprise me if he can leapfrog Singleton. And if the Astros especially want to have Super 2 concerns with AJ Reed, finally let him start at AAA. Fresno, again, we'll bring them up later in the podcast. White seems like just the kind of perfect candidate for that. They'll have to move around some stuff on their 40-man to make it work. But if things fall into the right place, I think he would be a really, really intriguing opening day guy.
That is a really good pick. And it shows you how deep that system is, that somebody who you don't necessarily think about when you think of that first rush of Astros prospects is a guy who's that talented, who will really be, a top 5 prospect in any other system. And Houston's system is like a mid-range guy, just speaking in general terms about their system and how deep it is, because that would definitely be emblematic of that. I'm going to go a little bit off of the normal radar screen with this one, and Hunter Renfroe in the San Diego Padres organization is set for his second big league camp, and I feel like maybe isn't the biggest surprise if he makes a roster, but is coming to an organization that's been in a big state of flux over the last 15 months, let's say, ever since that crazy offseason of 2014 coming into 2015. I think, last year, really, really good showing at AA San Antonio, moves up to AAA El Paso, even better there. They have some guys in that spot of sort of the big young bat that they've been touting for a while. Austin Hedges is probably the guy who really comes to mind most quickly when you think of the Padres and that next impact talent that they have who's come up from the minor league system. But I feel like Hunter Renfroe is at least on that bubble where if he broke camp at the major league level, I could see that conceivably being something that benefits the Padres going into the early stages of this season. So maybe, again, not the sexiest pick, but I feel like he's had that exposure to major league camp in 2015. Now coming into this year, it's not going to surprise him going into his second big league camp. If he goes out and really blows up, they have need in the outfield where he could really be an impactful member of that lineup. And even though they have guys who have sort of already filled that role of that big young bat, I feel like maybe he steps into one of those spots.
Yeah, well, the thing about them too, I think in left field right now they have John Jay as their starter.
Yes.
In center they have Melvin Upton Jr. Not necessarily guys who are screaming, the future of the franchise there. Both over 30. So Renfroe, they're going to want to give him his chance for sure. And one candidate I think he might be fighting out with is Jabari Blash, who was the Rule 5 pick. Tons of power out of him, and they're going to want to, if they really do end up liking him even a little bit, they're going to want to cling to him a lot. But, I think you mentioned it in his 21-game set last year with El Paso. I think Renfroe showed that he had kind of turned things around a little bit, hit 333 there, showed the same pop. So maybe if he carries that momentum going forward, it seems a little outside the box, I'll give you that, but it's not outside the realm of possibility either.
They got a lot of those big bats and young guys, but why not? Why not? Give him a shot. It seems like somebody who could be interested.
For discussion purposes.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Let's see. Strike 2 this week. Sam, how can you leave off all of my favorite players from your farm system rankings? Everybody that I like you didn't put on your list, and I don't know what it's about. That's strike 2.
Yeah. So what Tyler
let's explain.
I know. Before everybody thinks that you actually hate me for some reason. I came out with farm system rankings. We kind of teased them a little bit last week. They're based solely, and I'm going to say this twice, based solely on position players. That's
position players. System rankings.
Yes.
They're not individual player rankings.
No.
They do not encompass pitchers.
No.
They're farm system rankings based solely on position players. Internet commenters, take it away.
Yeah, so I've had people reach out and say, why did you not include Julio Urias? It's because he's not a position player. And
he could probably be good at it if he tried, but he's not.
Yeah, shout out to Craig Goldstein, who literally yelled at us over the internet saying Lucas Giolito demanded to be on here. But yeah, so this was fun to put together. Just kind of my own thoughts going through it. I think the top 10 is really, really interesting. Even the top 11, I had the Atlanta Braves at number 11, who got so much more interesting this offseason by picking up Dansby Swanson. Austin Riley getting some love there, but just to count it down from there. So I have the Braves at 11. I have the Dodgers at 10. I feel like I need to explain myself a little bit there. Corey Seager, obviously the runaway number 1 prospect. The prospect everybody's writing about, everybody wants to see this spring. But after that, it gets kind of hairy. Some sites really like Cody Bellinger, first baseman, outfielder. And others really like Alex Verdugo as an outfielder.
Bellinger's one of those interesting guys we kind of talked about last week, who were there very wide ranges of projection for him and how much sites and publications like him. He's one of those guys who is really split.
Right. Both of them appeared in the 50s in some other lists. They weren't ranked in the top 100 by MLB.com. Trying not to favor one list over any others. So that split just had me kind of split myself on the Dodgers, so I have them at number 10. Still a very good ranking, mind you, and still one of the best farm systems overall. We'll get to that in a couple weeks, but not as high as you may have expected for having the number 1 overall pick, or number 1 overall prospect, excuse me. Number 9 is the Milwaukee Brewers, obviously led by Orlando Arcia, good friend of the podcast, Brett Phillips, also in that system, Trent Clark, a lot to build on. And they just picked up Jacob Nottingham, which I think may have pushed them from 10 to number 9, at least, makes that system all the more interesting, especially depending on what they're going to do with Jonathan Lucroy. Number 8 is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Austin Meadows leads off there. Josh Bell, Reese McGuire, Brian Hayes, Alan Hansen, Elias Diaz. Just a lot of really interesting names. Meadows, again, the top prospect in that system, number 20. Not particularly really stand out, but just I really like the depth there. The Cubs come in at number 7, even after graduating Addison Russell, Kyle Schwarber, Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant last year. A lot of their talent is kind of further away, but last week we had on the podcast, Wilson Contreras, he could easily become their catcher this year after a breakout 2015. Gleyber Torres is the top prospect in the system. Was only 18 last year, played 2 full season stops. So it's still more to come in that Cubs system, even if it means it's not going to come right now. Phillies at number 6 got big help from their Cole Hamels trade, picking up Nick Williams and Jorge Alfaro. But the shining star in that system is J.P. Crawford. I actually think he could be this year's Francisco Lindor as a guy who comes up middle of the season, shows a really, really good glove and might surprise some people with the bat. But we'll talk about that more as we get into Rookie of the Year discussions and Major League debuts and stuff as the season goes on. Number 5, Minnesota Twins. The 2 big standouts there, Byron Buxton, Max Kepler. Lots of other talent between Jorge Polanco and Nick Gordon, who are usually at the back end of top 100s, but tend to appear in a bunch of them. Adam Brett Walker, his power we've talked about a lot. Really, really like him. So they're at number 5. Houston Astros, talked about Tyler White before. They don't have necessarily a big standout prospect. Alex Bregman was their top pick last year. Could be that guy. He's probably going to have to move off of shortstop at some point because they have arguably the game's best shortstop in Carlos Correa. But there's Reed, there's Colin Moran. They picked up 2 other really good prospects last year in the first round, Kyle Tucker and Daz Cameron. A deep system just seems like it got even deeper, so they're number 4. Number 3, when I kind of was looking over a lot of lists, there were a lot of reasons why the Texas Rangers should be number 1. I had them at number 3. They have the best big 3 in prospect land right now between Joey Gallo, Nomar Mazara, and Lewis Brinson. So they could have been even scarier if that Cole Hamels trade had never happened. But they pick up a pitcher that's going to help them, that helped them win the ALS last year. So they're not exactly regretting that now. But after those 3, it kind of falls apart a little bit for me. I don't think there's anybody even in the top 100 discussion. So that top 3 is enough to push them to number 3 in my rankings just because they are so good. They're all kind of consensus top 20 guys. And when you have 3 cornerstones like that, that's how our farm system is built. Number 2 is the Boston Red Sox, talking about big 3. Their big 3 is Yoan Moncada, Rafael Devers, and Andrew Benintendi. So 3 guys. Moncada and Devers were only at Class A Greenville last year. Benintendi was just taken last year, could move quickly as a college bat, who really impressed a lot of people last year. But these are all guys who haven't played above just Class A ball, so their talent's a little further away. But again, really, really exciting. And they have a little more depth in that system with guys like Sam Travis, Devin Marrero, Luis Alexander Basabe is getting a lot of talk now too as well. So really like the Red Sox depth as well as that top 3. And the number 1 system in terms of position player prospects that I really, really like is the Colorado Rockies. They took a guy who a lot of people, a lot of evaluators believe was the best player actually in the draft last year. They got Brendan Rodgers, who's a shortstop. He's landed on a bunch of top 20 lists, could go even higher than that once he actually proves himself at full season this year. But what I really like about the Rockies is just really the depth of that system. Because beyond Rodgers, you got David Dahl, who's a consensus top 100 guy. You got Ryan McMahon, who's a consensus top 50 guy. You got Raimel Tapia, who doesn't appear on all lists, but nobody doubts his skill set. They just want to see what happens when he moves to Double-A. You got Forrest Wall at second base, who appears on multiple lists. Trevor Story, Christian Adames. These aren't necessarily high ceiling guys, but they are definitely looking like impact major leaguers. Adames has already made the majors. So this just looked like the deepest system for me, and that's something I value when I'm looking at a farm system is not only do you have that top talent, which I think they do have in Rodgers, but how deep does your talent go? And for the Rockies, I couldn't find a deeper system than theirs. I should also throw in catcher Tom Murphy, who got some time with the Rockies last year, offensive-minded catcher. The list just keeps going on, and that's why I put them at the top spot.
How can you not put Blake Snell on this list, Sam?
Because he's a pitcher.
Why no Alex Reyes on this list, Sam?
Because he's a pitcher. I'm sorry,
oh,
that's the
okay.
loudest I've ever gotten. Sorry.
I know, and you're in an office. I can yell because I'm in my my own little room here. But yeah, no, it was farm system rankings based on position players, people who comment on the internet. But really, it's an outstanding piece, as is everything that Sam does. Put it up at MILB.com yesterday. You can check that out as of now and see where your team falls in. If you're a Marlins or an Angels fan, maybe don't. Moving on, strike 3. What do we have for strike 3 this week? Oh.
It's you. Yeah, I should be asking you about this.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
strike 3.
You got a story coming out on Thursday that it sounds pretty intriguing. I think the other day was the anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. This is kind of a story involving those two cold warring nations. What do you have to say about USA, USSR relations through baseball.
Yeah, I did not time this out to coincide with the Miracle on Ice, but that is a very good point, and I'll just tell everybody that I did. Back in 1989, a team of Eastern League All-Stars traveled to the Soviet Union to play baseball games against Soviet baseball players. They played in Kiev, in Ukraine. They played in Moscow. They played as well in Estonia. So it was kind of a goodwill mission. They called it the Diamond Diplomacy Tour. And it's a really interesting backstory. It's something that was really kind of a pet project of Major League Commissioner Bart Giamatti, who unfortunately did not live to see it come to light, to see it come to reality, but sort of had this idea, we should send a team to the Soviet Union on a goodwill mission. He got in touch with Charlie Eschbach, who was at that time the president of the Eastern League, now works as kind of an advisor to the Portland Sea Dogs, who are in that league. Charlie got with the team owners. Basically, everybody was on board, and they started putting this plan together in 1989. So they sent over a team of AA players only from one league, which if you kind of know how minor league baseball operates now, this league autonomy seems so strange and so fascinating to me. It was one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this story, that the Eastern League just decided on their own, no, we're going to do this just as our own league. It wasn't a minor league all-star team. It wasn't a AA all-star team. It was just an Eastern League team of guys. And they picked players who were obviously talented, but they really picked players based on personality. They wanted kind of ambassadors to go over, meet Soviet baseball players, run camps for kids who wanted to learn how to play baseball, and really engage with what was a very small baseball community. But they did. They got to go over there. I talked with Murray Cook, who is MLB's field guru, basically, and one of the best follows on Twitter. If you want to know the big things Major League Baseball has planned, follow Murray Cook on Twitter because he's advanced scouting all of it. So when he posts a picture from Cuba, you know that more than likely there's going to be a big-time baseball game played in Cuba soon. But I got to talk to Murray, who built the first and at that time only pitcher's mound in the Soviet Union. Talked to Charlie Eschbach, who was the president of the Eastern League at the time. And just today, I got a chance to catch up with Dave Tremblay, who was the manager of that Eastern League team, and just really cool to get a take on a very bygone era in the world. I mean, hearing about how these guys really had no idea what they were going into. I mean, nowadays, you can Google anywhere in the world and find out pretty much all the stuff you want to find out about it. But at that time, they had no idea what the situation was going to be like when they got there. Didn't know how many people they were going to be able to talk to in English, or what their translators were going to be like, or what their accommodations were going to be like. Didn't know what the baseball infrastructure was like. Didn't know what the guys they were going to be playing with or playing against were like. So it was really interesting to hear this story of how this all came together. And by the end, as Dave Tremblay told me today, baseball is a common language for everybody. And they sort of bonded with people just based on this mutual love of baseball. They went over and guys, Russian baseball players, Soviet baseball players who had served time in the Red Army and were playing on various track and field teams, competing for the Olympics, transition to baseball. They were wearing Yankees t-shirts. They were talking about how much they loved Kirby Puckett. That's such a strange and bizarre thing to think about in the Soviet Union in 1989, but it really shows how much of a common language and a uniting factor the game of baseball is. And so it's kind of one of those early forays into the globalization of the game of baseball. And so I'll have that coming up on Thursday on the site.
Yeah, and just kind of quickly to touch on, how did they end up with baseball? I mean, there wasn't too much sharing cultures between us at that time. So why were they interested in baseball at all?
That is a very good question, and one that I haven't really found a total answer to yet, because it's not like the same sort of situation where in Korea or in Japan it was brought over, either militarily by Americans who were playing at bases at certain times or whatever it was. You find that a lot in where baseball really spread early on. The Dominican Republic was kind of more of an economic thing. There were, sugar plantations that ended up developing teams, whatever, but Puerto Rico, Cuba, all these areas where there was a heavy American influence. As far as baseball in the Soviet Union goes, I'm not really sure, to be totally honest. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping to uncover with this story, because it doesn't have the same hallmarks of the historical foundation the way that it was a lot of other places around the globe. But kind of one of those randomly exported things that really for the Soviets was a big piece of their diplomacy efforts was success in sports. And when baseball was admitted to the Olympic Games, that's when it kind of started being something that people in the Soviet Union thought, well, we should try to learn how to do this so we can be competitive in it and whatever. So it is sort of echoes of that Cold War era Miracle on Ice type of mentality. But it's fascinating in that it in no way follows the same procedure as how baseball got spread everywhere else around the world, because that was not the case in the Soviet Union. But kind of an interesting one of those things you would never really think happened, and it actually happened. And they were sort of the guinea pigs of the globalization of baseball.
Yeah, this is not fiction that you'll be writing, that's for sure.
Very random. Very random. So that's what I got coming up on the site. Sam has his story coming up on the site this week is, what's the next step in, because prospect projections are all wrapped up. So your next one then is what?
So I'm going to continue with farm system rankings next week for actual pitchers this time.
Oh, so it's a separate thing where the pitchers weren't included in the position player ranking is what you're saying.
Were you just setting me up for that, or did you actually ask?
Oh, no, I had a whole plan for that.
Oh, okay. You always do. I don't know why I was underestimating you. Yeah, and I have a tool shed piece that's coming out this week as well, so look for that on Friday.
Tool shed coming out Friday, but yes. Just one more time to cover this. The farm system rankings that came out this week were based on position players only. Next week is pitchers.
That
so
is correct.
Next week you can all get on and say, how is Byron Buxton not on this list? Don't worry.
Although he has a great arm, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Joey Gallo threw 98 miles an hour in high school. You could probably put him on there.
Yeah, see, there you go.
A couple other things from the site this week. Kelsey Hennigan has a really, really cool story that's up as we head into the foul ball segment of Three Strikes, which we came up with last week, and I'm still so proud of. A really cool story that came out today, Tuesday, on the quick revamping of the Philadelphia Phillies system. And this is an interesting one because a couple of years ago, I made sort of a crack a minute ago about the Marlins and the Angels because of how barren those systems are right now. That was the Phillies a few years ago. That was also, you could make the argument, the Brewers a few years ago. And right now, we're looking at each of those systems as really top 5 systems in baseball. But this is a cool story about what it feels like from the inside of the Philly system right now, which was not at all the case a couple of seasons back.
Yeah, the really interesting point of this to me, and this was a great get by Kelsey, she talked to Matt Klentek, the new GM of the Phillies, who came over from the Angels, and talked to him about just kind of the state of the system, what it is now. And, the big trade that really refilled this system was that Cole Hamels trade that we talked about earlier. So you got Klentak talking about what that does, and you got Klentak talking about bringing over Mark Appel and letting go of Jesse Biddle, and just this guy who comes in and is just like, all right, we're going to have to rebuild, and this is what we're doing, and this is what happened before me, and this is what I'm going to do. So you have him, and then you have some of the prospects who are the new guys coming in talking about what an exciting time it is. So it's definitely a piece worth reading when you get the chance.
It certainly is. That's up on the site right now. We also have some more prospect Q&A stories which have been rolling out to the site. Ozzie Albies was an interesting one to read. He talked with our Josh Jackson, who again we'll be visiting with from spring training here in a couple of weeks. But Ozzie Albies is he's kind of one of the most interesting man in the world style prospects in minor league baseball. But he's from Curacao. I think he speaks 5 or 6 different languages, and he's still a teenager. He's 19 years old. He's been climbing really quickly. Really, really good at Class A Rome last year. So check that one out. Richie Schaefer as well. Schaefer, of course, kind of gained some internet notoriety last year when hit his first big league home run, returned to the dugout. Everybody was ignoring him. So he just mimed like he was high-fiving and hugging and celebrating with everyone. MLB turned that into a GIF that they have since used all over social media. So some good stuff on the prospect Q&A stories, Q's and A's, I guess would be the way that I would shorten that. And that's those are the ones that we had set out to cover. So next week, farm system rankings with pitchers. Don't forget it. That's what's
I don't think they possibly can, though. You're a great hype man, Tyler Mullen.
I try. It's my whole goal in life. So that wraps up 3 strikes and some foul balls for this week, the 47th edition of the show before the show. Coming up next, we will take one of our first dives into real spring training action as Kyle Zimmer is already full on, has dived into the spring training festivities in Surprise, Arizona, where the Kansas City Royals convene as World Series champions coming off the 2015 season. We'll talk with Kyle Zimmer about what it's like in Royals camp right now and his expectations and hopes for the 2016 season. That's coming up next. Spring training camps underway for major league clubs. Pretty much every full squad has reported. Minor league guys starting to roll in, the rare guys who aren't there already. And Kyle Zimmer of the Kansas City Royals joins us in what has to be one of the most exciting Royals camps ever held. Kyle, what is going on? How's the offseason been treating you?
It's been going well. It's been going really well. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be a Royal. It's a fun time to be around the clubhouse for sure.
Tell us what it's like right now, because the last few seasons, this has really been building in the system. I was down there last year and got a chance to kind of feel what it was like around just everyday work at camp, where it seemed like everybody in the Royal system knew that there were big things on the very near horizon. And now, breaking through, winning a World Series, what has the energy been like so far, just in these initial few days since you've gotten back into really regular work?
It's been amazing. I mean, obviously the team coming off of the World Series championship, the buzz around the locker room and the clubhouse is sky high. And, I mean, there's still sort of a sense of, I mean, like not being content. And I mean, there's still that fire that's driving in everybody, that we not only want to get back to the playoffs and win the division again, but we want to get back to the World Series and win another title. And, I mean, it's such a great group of guys, and being around it has been amazing.
And for you personally, I mean, this camp is a little different in that you've been added to the 40-man roster back in November. There's somewhat of a chance that you can make a big league team. It's more than just a non-roster invite for you. What does this spring training mean to you in kind of that scope?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge just being able to be out there and compete and show them what I can do on the field. Where the last few springs I've been coming off injuries or been injured, so it's been great finishing last year healthy and coming into this spring healthy and ready to roll. And so just being out there and going out to the field every day with a chance to compete and have some fun out there has been amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, the kind of rash of injuries throughout your career. You had shoulder surgery back, I think, last offseason, some lat problems, some elbow issues. What kind of work have you kind of put in this offseason to kind of put those injuries past you? And, how much are those kind of on your mind, or are they completely gone now that you are feeling healthy?
I mean, I'm feeling great, so I'm not really thinking about that. I'm thinking more about baseball-related stuff, which is a nice change of pace. But this off season, I mean, I really went in sort of putting an emphasis on more flexibility than I have before versus in the past. I've been more of a heavy weightlifting type of guy, and I've been more bulky, and I'm down about 10, 12 pounds than what I usually have been in the past couple of years, and feeling a lot more flexible throughout my whole body. I did some deep tissue work out with a guide out in San Diego, where I lived during the off season, and that and some flexibility stuff, and it's everything's feeling good.
Kyle, when you go into a camp like this, all of a sudden the scope of the Royal system really over the last year changed, and in large part it's because of some deals that are made that pay off. It's a World Series championship. That's the goal you want to accomplish no matter what level you are at in the system. But for you go from being kind of one of the guys in the advanced levels of the minors who has a big major league pedigree. Coming into this time last year, you were joined there. Sean Manaea's there, Brandon Finnegan's there. Now all of a sudden you're kind of that guy at the forefront of the upper levels of the minors. Does it feel different for you coming into the season, knowing what's in front of you and knowing that you really have a big opportunity as maybe that real frontline prospect in the system compared to what it was last year when there were other guys around in a similar sort of area in their careers?
No, I honestly, I would say not really, just because I feel like I put the greatest expectations on myself. I set really high goals and expectations for myself, where I know other people have high expectations for me, but I always feel like the expectations that I put on myself are higher than anybody else can put on me. And so coming into this year, I just treat it like any other year where I'm going to go out there and do everything that I can to make the club, and whatever I can do in between the lines to make that happen, I'm going to do. And whether there's other guys that I'm competing against or anything like that, or if it's just me or whatever the situation is, I'm going to treat every day the same and just control things that I can control, and that is honestly just going out and making my pitches and getting outs, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, and kind of speaking about those pitches, I kind of want to get into the nuts and bolts of what you are as a pitcher. MLB Pipeline, has you as a 4+ pitches between your fastball, curveball, slider, and changeup. Some really good control. When you have been out there and healthy, what do you think you need to do to make that next step in terms of repertoire, in terms of your pitches? What are you specifically working on right now in camp?
Well, I think first off, it's obviously staying healthy and being able to go out there and take the ball whenever they give it to me. And I think I've taken a big step in the right direction from that standpoint. And then my stuff, I've always had confidence that it's where it needs to be. Obviously, you can work on a few things. This offseason, I spent a lot of time working on my changeup and fooling with some grips, and that's feeling really good right now. My slider, I sort of made a small grip adjustment, tightened it up a little bit more, hoping to get a little bit more velocity and sharpness to it. And my curveball's always sort of been my out pitch, and so just perfecting that. And then obviously the biggest separator in baseball is fastball command, so trying to perfect that as much as I can, just like any other pitcher. But just going out every day with a purpose and a mindset to get better, and with all my pitches, really.
And when you mentioned you're working on a new grip with that changeup, what specific changes have you made?
It would be easier if I had a ball and could show you, but
right, yeah.
Just really just minor stuff versus sort of, just toying around with it, like loosening a little bit of grip here, moving a thumb a little bit to the, it's just really small things, but when it comes down to it, it's all about sort of comfort and a feel pitch for me. And so the more comfortable I get with it in my hand, the better it's going to come out, and the better spin I'm going to get on it. So that's sort of where that's at.
Yeah, and going back to last year, you split your time between Lexington and Northwest Arkansas. Got a decent amount of relief outings. That was more just to make sure you were healthy, get your feet back under you. But there's some talk about, maybe your major league future might be in a bullpen. How much do you kind of prefer one or the other? Or, how do you kind of approach being a starter versus being a potential future reliever?
Throughout my whole career, college, professional, pitching, I've always been a starter. And so that's more, it comes more naturally to me. But after last year, experiencing some time in the bullpen, and sort of, proving to myself that I could do it, it's not as foreign to me anymore. And so I feel like I'm really comfortable doing either. And so whatever I can do, to whatever role suits the team the best, and however they choose to use me, whatever's going to help the team get more wins and whatever I can do to help, I'm really up for anything.
Kyle, let's talk about your background a little bit. From California, Southern California kid, went to La Jolla High School in La Jolla, and actually you were a third baseman and recruited out of high school as a third baseman to go to the University of San Francisco. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
How was the transition to pitching? You had pitched a little bit in high school, but to go from doing that, being recruited at a position player level to go play at a really high level in college, what was that transition period like?
To be honest, it was pretty brutal. It was tough. My whole life I was a hitter, and I loved playing every inning, every game out in the field, and switching and becoming a pitcher. And really, I had no idea what I was doing when they first gave me the ball and said, "Here, get on the mound. You're going to go throw that 60 feet, 6 inches towards the hitter." I'd be like, "Oh, okay." I'm going to go and just throw it. I wasn't pitching at first. I was just throwing it. So there was a severe learning curve. I threw like 5 innings or something my freshman year at USF, and so it was really just countless hours of just, while the team was on the road and I wasn't traveling, going down to the batting cage and fooling with grips and just throwing into a net and trying to learn how to throw a curveball and a slider and different stuff, and really just making adjustments. And then once I started getting a little bit of feel for some pitches, I would go out and throw bullpens and throw more into the net, and work on some mechanical stuff. And then summer ball was a big help to me, because I got to go out my first freshman summer, and I was a starter out there, so I got to throw a lot of innings. I started getting a feel for pitching, and then it all just sort of started to click and started to take off from there. But at first, yeah, it was pretty brutal at first.
So you go to college. I mean, you play really high level of high school ball. You go to college ball. And in the meantime, during all of this, your brother Bradley is kind of right behind you, a couple years behind you for school. You grow up, get drafted with the 5th overall pick in the first round in 2012. Your brother goes with the 21st overall pick in 2014. So you have a family with 2 major league first round draft picks in it. I am not a father yet. Sam is not a father yet. But let me ask you, can you have your parents tell us what they fed you guys when you were kids, or how did this happen?
Oh gosh, yeah, pulling weeds and making fun of us. No, it was yeah. I mean, we're obviously really lucky to be blessed with some good genetics. My dad played baseball in college, and my mom ran track in college, and so my brother got the speed, and I got the arm, I guess. But yeah, it's we're pretty lucky, and yeah, they're both very supportive and have been there for us every step of the way. So it's pretty cool to be able to do what we're doing now together.
And we'll leave you on this one then. You guys are both in the AL Central now in terms of prospects, him being, in the Cleveland system, you being in Kansas City. Is there any kind of competitive rivalry there? And just to settle this once and for all on the record, who's the better prospect, you or Bradley?
Oh boy, I mean, I gotta say myself.
There you go.
Right? I can't.
That
I'm the older brother.
You're the older brother. You have to, exactly.
Yeah, I can't concede anything till the day I die. So, but yeah, no, we're only 14 months apart in age, and so growing up, it was everything we did was a competition, and so baseball at this point in our lives is definitely no different. we compete with everything we do, and so it's pretty fun to hopefully face off here in the near future.
Couple seasons down the road, it's going to be game 163 to decide an AL Central title, and we'll have Zimmer versus Zimmer, and then we'll get the answer once and for all.
There you go. We'll find out then.
Kyle Zimmer, pitching prospect in the Kansas City Royals organization, and coming into this year is MLB Pipeline's 65th best overall prospect in all of baseball. You can find Kyle. He is on Twitter at KyleZimmer11. Kyle, enjoy the time in Arizona getting ready for this season. Thanks a ton for giving us a few minutes, and best of luck in the spring.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Benjamin Hill joins the show for the latest edition of Ben's Biz Banter as we get close to the opening of the 2016 season. And we're in, I guess, sort of like the kickoff of the baseball new year, which means it's like New Year's resolution time. And we were talking a minute ago, Ben is like, you're best shape of your life territory for spring training. This is a good start for all of us. I feel like we can all feed off this momentum.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I started going to the gym for the first time in a while. Got a personal trainer for the first time in my life. Shout out to Wilson, who I have been my personal trainer.
Wilson, does he have one L or two L's in his name? Because we had a talk last week. Wilson Contreras, 2 L's. It's a rare spelling of Wilson.
No, 1 L. You know,
okay.
He's nice and lean.
The 1 L crowd.
He has no excess.
He's aerodynamic.
He's aerodynamic. Yeah, so I've been going to the gym. I've been waking up early. I've been getting healthy, and I hope if people see me on the road this season, I'm not going to impress anyone overtly, but if you saw me last year in the increasingly slovenly shape I fell into, I hope to turn some heads and maybe some lady heads. Hey, ladies, I'm single.
Okay, now let me ask you this, and ties in with that because I am not in the office. What's the beard status like right now?
Moderate.
Okay. Because every time I go, it's like an increasing level of impressiveness with the beard for Benjamin Hill.
Yeah, impressiveness or degeneracy or sort of an outward manifestation of my lack of effort in all things related to my life, except my job. That's why we're here to talk about all the great things I do as Ben's Biz every day.
It's true. And speaking of which, that's the craziest thing about bensbiz.mlblogs.com is the photo of Ben, like the little profile shot on the right side of the blog is like short hair sans beard Ben, or at least that's like very little stubble Ben, which you would not, if you saw that picture and you saw Ben today with the hair and the beard, you would not think it was the same guy.
Yeah, I've gone through a second puberty.
All right, well, let's dive into it. The Fresno Grizzlies / tacos are the big topic of the day today. We discussed them a lot last year, of course. The Fresno Grizzlies had a promotion for the ages in which they became the Fresno Tacos for a game because of their taco truck throwdown, which has been a very successful promotion. It was in its 5th season last year, but they came out with an outstanding logo, uniforms, merchandise that has flown off the shelves in Fresno. There was talk last year that this was going to be expanded to some degree. There was a brief post that somebody had put out that said that the Fresno Grizzlies were exploring the option of rebranding entirely to be the Fresno Tacos, but it looks as if now we know what the extent of the taco phenomenon will be in 2016. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, Fresno is, in America, ground zero of the taco scene. It's there's a strong taco truck culture there, and the Grizzlies have just every year find a new way to capitalize it, and a new way to grow this, and a new way to attach local pride in tacos, to how they operate at the ballpark. So last year they were the Fresno Tacos for one day. This year, 2016, they're going to be the Fresno Tacos every Tuesday. Every home game Tuesday is Taco Tuesday in Fresno, and so for all 10 Tuesday home games, they will be the Fresno Tacos, with the tacos jersey, the tacos hat, a rotating selection of local taco food trucks set up at the ballpark. The tacos are all $2, pretty reasonable. Fans can buy foam taco hats, and they also announced that they're going to unveil a Fresno Tacos mascot, Tito, at a later date. San Antonio has Henry the Puffy Taco, so this will be the second taco mascot in minor league baseball for those keeping score at home.
And what exactly, we're kind of looking at it now, it's going to be a little different, the look, as opposed to what it was last year. Kind of tell the people who can't see it right now what the look is going to be as compared to the one we saw, the Grizzlies / Tacos wear last year when they were celebrating their taco.
Well, the main thing, the way they describe it, is with a twist of lime. A good taco, you're going to squeeze a little lime on it, and so they've made they're orange and green, and it's much more, the green factors in a lot more than last year's version, tied in with the lime. And so you got a real vibrant orange and green uniform that I think reflects pretty well how vibrant a food the taco can be.
We were talking a few minutes ago before we got started that something, we talk about in this segment every week caters to a certain type of baseball nerd. And I would assume this is probably not something that the mainstream person would really care about. But last year, one of the things in the uniform community that was discussed was that the Tacos hats did not have the MILB emblem on the back of them because they were not approved in time to get that part put on. But I would imagine that this year's editions with the hint of lime now, I would imagine those will have that on.
Yeah, I can't say for sure, but I would be almost positive that these are going to be as official as a taco hat can be.
Just in case you're as big of a nerd as somebody who has an entire wall full of hats in his basement, I don't know anybody who that would be. Let's continue on the tacos front. There was a really funny story that came out this week, Ben, that you also posted on the blog, that sort of involved a cultural food exchange that crossed boundaries. There was a big international intrigue story involving the tacos, which is very much an Americanized Mexican food, and the national food of Canada, which is poutine. Give us this story.
Yeah, as I mentioned in this blog post, one of my favorite things about the job that I have is hearing from the readers and getting emails from them. And I got an email a little more than a week ago from a guy named Damian Ford. He lives in Ottawa. Of course, big fan of Ben's Biz, but big fan of minor league baseball in general, and specifically a fan of hats and jerseys. And he loved the Fresno Taco hat when the Grizzlies changed the name to the Tacos last year. One problem: he lives in Canada, and the Grizzlies don't ship their merchandise to Canada, so he did not know what to do. This is a Canadian man, desperate for a Fresno Tacos hat. So he started harassing the Grizzlies on Twitter in a very lighthearted way, but saying, taking a picture of his hat and saying, or taking a picture of his head and saying,
that's my favorite tweet.
A Tacos hat belongs on this head, and vowing to never visit Sacramento, which is the Fresno Grizzlies' rival town and rival team, the Sacramento River Cats. Posting photos of himself with hot sauce, saying he needed a taco for it, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally he says, "Listen, guys, I'll mail you poutine and email me a tacos hat. And the Grizzlies said, deal. And, he thought about it a little bit, and he was like, well, I'm not going to mail poutine because if in case you don't know, that's, French fries covered in gravy and cheese curds, and you can't really mail that. So he went to the supermarket, bought potatoes, gravy mix, bags of cheese curds, sent it to the Grizzlies, and ultimately, in exchange, the Grizzlies sent him not only a tacos hat, but a tacos jersey and a Parker the mascot figurine as a bonus. But the main thing is he got his Fresno taco hat and jersey, and he's wearing it proudly in the snowy winter Ottawa weather. And just one of those quirky things, and I was happy to include that on my blog. And most of the post is in Damien's words, basically just repurposing the email he sent to me. And, why should I write if someone else is going to do it for me?
And are there going to be people who try to make this a thing and just try to send Fresno Grizzlies as many, is there going to be like curry from India or, something from Australia trying to get these hats all over the place now?
I hope so. I hope you got Vietnamese fans sending the Grizzlies some pho or pho, depending on your preferred pronunciation. Yeah, I hope you've got fans in Thailand sending larb salads and pad thai. I hope this becomes a global phenomenon in which the Grizzlies are inundated with boxes of cuisine from all over the globe and feel obligated to send all these people taco hats.
I promise to not mail them Rocky Mountain oysters.
Thank you.
What are those, Tyler?
Yeah.
It's a part of the bull anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fried.
Share on this family-friendly podcast.
Yeah, we'll let you Google. I'm sure there's a Google page.
I think you could say that.
Yeah, we could probably say that it's bull testicles.
They've sold.
It's a food stuff.
Rocky Mountain oysters have been sold at minor league baseball games.
Well, I don't know if it's still. No, there is still a concession stand at Coors Field that sells them as well. That was like a big thing when it opened. They were going to be selling rock. I've heard they're good. Everybody says they're good. Who's tried them?
In my pre-gluten-free days, because the only thing that's going to stop me from eating Rocky Mountain oysters is clearly whether or not they have gluten in them. But I got some in Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were pretty good. They were very inoffensive. I mean, it's just one of those things, when in Rome.
That's what I've heard from everybody. So maybe one of these days. But don't worry, Grizzlies, I will not be mailing you any foodstuffs from my area. Let's talk next about a story you got coming up to the site, Ben, which is one of those baseball detective types of stories, and a guy who a love of the game type of embrace of something that not a whole lot of people would know about or even really be able to go after the way that he has. Tell us about this story coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, pretty much everything we talk about is for some sort of minor league baseball nerd. I've got a story running on the website tomorrow, milb.com, for those keeping score at home. I talked to a man named Chuck McGill, a baseball history nerd, some of my favorite subset of the baseball nerd. And,
also, the name of Saul's brother on Better Call Saul. Very weird. I just realized that. Wanted to pop in. Absolutely no point for anything, but that's one of the main characters in Better Call Saul.
Thank you for that bit of pop culture trivia. I really appreciate it. And, so this guy, Chuck McGill, he joined SABR, this Society for American Baseball Research, and wanted to do a project that no one else had done, didn't want to retread ground that's already been trod. And he came up with the idea of compiling a master list of minor league baseball no-hitters. He had a lot of them were included in the Encyclopedia of Minor League Baseball, but he thought to himself, there has to have been more than this, especially when you go back to the 19th century, the turn of the century, when there were just dozens and dozens of minor leagues all over the country, in small towns all over the place. He thought, I want to find every minor league no-hitter that I can. So he's done this completely from his home in Vermont. He works for the National Weather Service by day. And, he subscribed to newspapers.com and, the Sporting News and Sporting Life archives, and going through Google News. He has been scouring thousands upon thousands of old box scores looking for no-hitters that have not previously been documented, and has found over 500 of them. And so I interviewed him, talked about his project and, why he does it. And he has included within the story is a link to his spreadsheet, which is very dry. It's a spreadsheet. It's a Google spreadsheet. But you can just peruse that spreadsheet. And, it's thousands and thousands of minor league no-hitters going back to the 19th century, including all the ones he's found. You can, sort them by league and year in which they happened, and just a kind of fun thing to get lost in if you are of that inclination.
And how many has he discovered? Just by himself that he hasn't found in like the encyclopedia, like you said.
He told me he's found over 540 no-hitters, and was kind of talking with pride about like his best day where he found 18. Where he said they were coming at me right and left and right. He said it was the Northern Indiana State League and the Kansas State League, so he clearly got access to some newspaper articles he hadn't seen before in a league that wasn't well documented and just was knocking them down. All these previously undiscovered no-hitters. So it's pretty cool stuff. There was one guy by the name of Harry Kane who pitched in the turn of the 20th century, and this guy, Chuck McGill, has found 3 previously undocumented Harry Kane no-hitters, giving him 5 total now because 2 had already been documented, and that puts him in a tie for all-time most minor league no-hitters.
And Harry Kane is the same name as a Tottenham Hotspur forward, so there we go.
See?
Just
Look
have
at all these names.
Name recognition all over.
There we go. We got to wrap it up with the apropos pop culture reference.
Well, and that is really cool because, those are some of the best days of guys' lives who are otherwise lost to history. And so it's neat that somebody is going through and taking the time to discover things that would otherwise be, something that nobody knows about. That's a big moment in people's lives that now will be appreciated a century plus later on. So go check out that story at MILB.com. And Benjamin Hill is on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz, and you can follow the blog bensbiz.mlblogs.com. Ben, I assume you're looking very good and sounding great on the podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. I look as good as I sound, so however good you think I sound, that's how I look.
With a twist of lime. It's going to be some cool stuff coming to the site and to the blog from Benjamin Hill. Our thanks to him and our thanks to Kyle Zimmer from the Kansas City Royals who joined the show earlier. Again, you can follow Kyle. He's on Twitter at KyleZimmer11 and Benjamin Hill is at Ben's Biz. And that'll wrap up the 47th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Again, not even 2 weeks away. Sam and I are headed to spring training. When are you going down there?
I'll be leaving here March 5th.
Okay, so we're going to be around the same time. I'm leaving here March 8th. Josh Jackson will be heading to Arizona March 7th. So that week, we're going to be covering it wall to wall. It's going to be a ton of fun. We'll
have a special podcast that week, and then
on location.
And we'll be doing interviews while we're down there. So we'll probably have some canned stuff that we can share as we go towards opening day as well, after we're back and out of the sun, sadly, once again.
What I am very excited about is I teased this yesterday on Twitter, and I am really going to see if I can make this happen. But big news that was tweeted out yesterday by Jane Lee, the MLB.com writer for the Oakland Athletics. Shake Shack is opening its first location in Phoenix this weekend. So Phoenix now has Shake Shack, In-N-Out, and Whataburger. And that is not okay for the rest of us.
It is okay, though.
It's okay if you're going there.
You get to enjoy it.
That's great.
It's not okay for me.
No, that's true.
This is the point where I tell people, please tweet me your, Florida eating, preferences or recommendations, all of that, because I don't know anything about down there, what the In-N-Out equivalent is for Florida.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They don't have that kind of big burger type place. And I would really like to enjoy some of the local fare down there. So if people have their recommendations, please send it to me. Tyler's taken care of.
Yeah,
I'm set. Listed off 3 places that he's going to spend the entire week at.
I'm set.
Don't worry about Tyler. Tweet all your delicious Florida cuisine at me, please.
Yeah, do that. He is at Sam Dykstra, MILB. But I really do want to do a taste test of all 3 burgers. Maybe I'll see if I can rope Brett Phillips into this or something like that. One of those guys who's down there. I'm I feel like you'd be down with taste testing the major 3 awesome burger chains.
I would almost prefer it that you and Brett Phillips go to the Grand Canyon.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Buddy road trip. Just you pick him up at the
make it into a sitcom.
Yeah, I need that to happen as well.
Last year, I stumbled upon a tamale place near Hohokam, which is now the Oakland Athletics facility in Mesa. And inside, for no apparent reason, the El Paso Chihuahuas logo was painted on the wall. It was A, the most amazing tamales I've ever had, and B, the most random minor league baseball connection I've ever seen in my life. So I'm excited. I'm going to hit that place up again.
So now the bar has been set.
Bar's been set. Paint the weirdest logos that are in no way tied to your restaurant, just tangentially tied to your restaurant. Paint them inside, and I will come visit your restaurant.
Let's get some Vancouver Canadians action. Yeah, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Somebody puts like a Prince William cannons. Just paint the weirdest, most random minor league cuts you can think of.
Deep
Why
cuts.
not? So that's coming up next month. But before that, we'll have an episode next week coming your way, which will be it'll be the day after Leap Day. It's too bad. More than likely, because we usually record on Tuesdays. Leap Day is Monday, I think, right?
Right.
Which doesn't exist after Monday. We could have recorded a Leap Day episode and then never again had a February 29th episode. But next week, we will be back with more as we get set to go for spring training. Games starting next week, which is very exciting for all of us. And until then, this is the last time that we're going to leave you without baseball on the horizon. So get your off-season activities out of the way, because all of your time is going to be lost starting this time next week. Get pumped. We'll talk to you then.